Shalom Israel. Today we're going to be getting into a lesson about food and health, because it's imperative that we have a balanced diet. It's imperative that we keep our health at optimal level. You get what I mean? So before we do that, I give you a grade.
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Waha, Rakah, Kadash.
So before we get into the lesson, I say double honors to the apostles and the elders. I give out salutations and shout outs to the brothers preaching the highways and byways, the sisters, trying to keep in the faith, being submissive to their husbands, trying to serve the Lord. And just the brothers that's may not be teaching but just doing the works, giving out alms, so on and so forth, right? So bring out Romans 14 and 2. Get out Daniel 1 starting at verse 5.
Romans 14 and 2. What's going on, bro?
Can I see the precept? Romans chapter 14 verse 2. For one belief that he may eat all things, another who is weak eat herbs.
So it says another who is weak eat herbs. So if brothers are dealing with all sorts of ailments, we need to get into the herbs. You get what I mean? There's herbalist about, especially in the Caribbean, the Benjamin brothers. They deal a lot with the herbs. It's important that we get our get understanding about the herbs, because the scriptures even tell you to not be ignorant in any matter, small or great. So it's imperative that we get into these things. Read on.
Let's not him that eats despise him that eats not, and let him which eats not judge him that eats, for God has received him.
Right, so if a brother wants to be a vegan or a vegetarian and he doesn't necessarily want to eat meat or fish, then don't judge the brother. You get what I mean?
That's right.
Because sometimes you might have to take a small little break from eating meat, right? Because the meat here is defiled. So there's a lot of processed meat out here.
GMOs.
Exactly, a lot of GMO meat.
Not good.
Right, and they spray the meat as well. The meat's not pure. When you get the meat, that's not the natural color of meat.
Exactly.
It's supposed to be brown.
Exactly.
You get what I mean? Because it's to add that when they spray a certain color, it's to add that representation. It's to add that allure, because it looks good. So when you see red meat, you're like, oh yeah, that looks good, But if it's brown, it doesn't look as alluring.
No, it doesn't.
So that's why Esau does that. Yeah, bring out.
If I can say something as well, these countries, the meat that we have, they're not organic like that.
No, they're not.
So you can't be eating too much meat as well.
Yeah.
That'll become a problem.
That increases cancer rates as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because even the way they're raising these sheep and these goats and these cows on the farm isn't conducive. The environments that they're raising these cattle, the environment's full of bacteria and diseases. It's not a conducive environment, and you don't know what they're feeding these animals. You get what I mean? These animals are supposed to be feeding on grass and greens.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's not always the case. You get what I mean? Because this is a business. The Esau views the food industry as a business.
That's right.
Esau is the harbinger of death, man.
Right.
He says don't look into it. He doesn't care who's died or he just want to make money, man.
They get these injections and injects all these GMOs into cows. Necessarily to alter the DNA of the that you're eating, so it alters it. Say for instance it's initially brown, then it becomes red then, because again, they've altered the DNA, and that's how GMOs work. Scientists don't know this.
And they pump it with these injections to make the meat bigger.
Exactly my point.
Yeah, well, I mean,
exactly my point.
Right, all these different chemicals in the meat, and when they're processing these meats through the factories, there's a bunch of bacteria through these factories, and they're mixing it in with swine.
That's right.
Right, so we need to be careful about these things, man.
This is Daniel, chapter 1, verse 5. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Verse 6. Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Chapter 7. Unto whom the prince of the Enochs gave names, For he gave unto Daniel the name of Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego. Verse 8. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat.
Right, so we need to be in that same spirit of Daniel, to not defile ourselves with Esau's meat. You know?
Nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore, he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself.
That's right.
Verse 9. Now Yahweh had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. Verse 10. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse, liking than the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king.
Right, so Daniel, so Shadrach could be, Shadrach, Hananiah, Azariah, Abednego, they were feasting on the king's meat, right? And they were getting weak. They were getting into a weakened state because of the defiled food that they were eating. So Daniel proposed, listen, we need some herbs, man. We need some vegetables because we're in a weakened state. Look at our countenances. Right, we're low in energy right now. We're struggling to get out of bed. Continue.
Verse 11. Then said Daniel to Malzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Verse 12. Clothe thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink.
So pulse to eat and water to drink.
That's right.
So pulse is going into vegetables. So, fruit, veg, spinach, kale, tomatoes, carrots, apples, oranges, bananas, mangoes, so on and so forth. Right. They basically went on the vegetable fast. But they were eating. The king was feeding them all types of nonsense.
All types of gears.
Right, all these royal dainties like these cakes and wine every day, and all these chips and all these oily, fatty foods and these pastries. That was.
And they're so nice when you eat, and they're like, wow.
Right.
But it's full of sickness, man.
It was getting them into a weakened state.
There's something to think about it, you know, like back in the day, we didn't have to go see, back in the day, in ancient times, prehistoric times, we wouldn't have to go see a doctor until it was actually very serious. And that very doctor that they only had was Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. Yahushai himself. You know, he worked wonders to kill people. Now, in this day and age, you know, right, because of the injections that we've been receiving in ourselves, you know, right, we have to eat junk food, so much junk food that makes us sick, like McDonald's, and lots of GMOs from Tesco's.
Right.
So, yeah.
But you know, talking about that, I'm going to piece up quickly before you carry on, Malak, yeah? So, it's Ezekiel 4 and 13, right? And he said, the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat the defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. So that's a prophecy. So that's why we have to take these things serious, because the Most High, it's a curse.
Oh yes, it is.
Eating what we eat. So when you're in the truth now, you gotta now do better. Like me, it took me my situation to really change everything. It took much to change my diet. I don't eat meat like every day. I eat fish, but then meat I eat once, chicken once, well, I balance it out. Because you can't be eating defiled food every day. Your colon is the most important part of your body.
That's right.
If your colon touch, guarantee you're gonna die. So this one has to be, how you deal with it is very hard. What you put inside, and also this meat, they're difficult to be processed, man.
Oh yeah, it is very.
That's why people, let's say once a year you have to detox. And I can't wait to do my detox, man.
Right,
you know?
these foods make you feel sluggish and lethargic and
Right.
getting these different headaches and sore throats. That's the defiled food, and we can't use the prophecy in Ezekiel 4 and 13.
Exactly.
We can't use that excuse to carry on eating these defiled foods.
Exactly.
Of course, the fruit and veg is also somewhat defiled too, but hey, would you rather eat the defiled fruit and veg or the defiled meat?
The defiled meat as well, when you eat it, when it digests in you, it all turns into mucus. That's why,
Exactly.
whenever you spit or boogie's leaking out, that mucus, it turns either green, which is the worst state it can be on, or yellow, So this mucus accumulates around your mind, giving you a headache. And mind you, these mucus, since they mix into your brain, it can actually turn into a cancer cell, which is not very healthy. So yeah, that's why eating meat is very dangerous.
Right, and when you're eating all these processed foods, it numbs you to the point where you don't really feel these things occurring.
Exactly.
It's when you go on a detox and then you start eating these foods again. Now you start seeing all this mucus arising.
And you get dizzy.
Exactly. Now it doesn't take much for you to get a headache.
Exactly.
But because you was numbed with all the processed food, you wasn't really feeling the headaches as much. Because you were so numb, you didn't feel the sensation. But now that you eat all these herbs and all these plant-based foods, now you feel more sensitive to certain things.
That's right.
Right, so that's what happens. Yeah, read on.
This is Daniel chapter 1, verse 13. Then let our countenances be looked upon there. Oh, sorry, Slaki. Daniel chapter 1, verse 13. Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat the portion of the king's meat. And as thou seest, deal with thy servants. Verse 14. So he consented to them in this matter, and proved them 10 days. Verse 15. And at the end of the 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat.
Right, so a comparison was made within a space of 10 days. Right? Daniel, Meshach, Abednego, after 10 days, they had more vitality. Right? They felt more energetic after eating the pulse and the water. But the king's servants eating all the raw dainties of the king's meat, they were all sluggish, lethargic, they're struggling to get out of bed.
That's not even the worst part. They were taken by gluttony and sloth.
Right.
So they were lazing around, they were eating all these junk, and then that's what made them sluggish in the first place. And God's just like looking at them, thinking, yeah, foolishness.
Right.
That's the heavy price.
Right, that's what it is. So they bring out Proverbs 15 and 17.
Proverbs 15 and 17.
And all it took was for 10 days for the countenances of Daniel, Meshach and Abednego.
That's right.
Yeah, all it took was 10 days for it to change, to see a significant amount of changes.
They're healthier, man.
Proverbs chapter 15, verse 17. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than stalked ox and hatred therewith.
Ooh, read that again.
Better.
Because the oxtail, man. I love oxtail, Oxtail without rice. Oh my lord.
Yeah.
But right now I can't be eating it now, man.
One more time.
Seriously, man. One more time, man.
Proverbs
people
chapter
love the
15,
oxtail,
verse
bro.
17.
Right.
Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalk ox and hatred therewith.
But I know it's not what he's saying, but the ox part just gave me that remembrance of the food, you know what I mean?
Right.
Carry on, man. Alright, oxtail, bro.
So yeah, it's better to eat your fruit and vegetables at home than to go out to KFC or McDonald's and eat with a foul food that's made with no love. Right? Because when you're cooking your own food, you're gonna make it with love, because everything's energy. Right? So if the way someone prepares their food, if there's a certain energy and vibration behind it, that's also going into your system.
And that's why if you're a woman and then you lot have an argument,
Right.
and you're not getting along or whatever, don't eat your food.
Right?
Don't eat your food.
If what?
If you go and you're a woman, you got an argument, or you're in a place where people hate you, don't eat your food. Because the energy is dangerous, man.
Oh yeah, very dangerous.
Deuteronomy 34:7.
Deuteronomy 34.
Right, so that's what the scripture's saying right there. Right, because when you're going to all these fast food places, there's a reason why it's saying fast food. Right, it's not made with love. I'm not saying that you can't ever have fast food, but we have to limit the amount of time we have fast food. You get what I mean?
That's right.
Fast food should only be limited maybe once or twice a month. If
Yeah,
even that.
don't eat fast food like that, man. Once in a while, and even if you do oxtail, yeah, learn to do oxtail with a lot of like cabbage. You know, add up some,
veg on that.
add up some veg in it. Change if you do curry, add some veg, just veg that you can put in a curry sauce, you know. And lessen the curry. Don't put too much of it. Make it like into like a half veggie sauce, half curry. You know, put veggie in everything, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Right, greens. It's important to have
Greens, man. Put some kale, man. Bring some kale out. I'm not saying put kale in curries, but if you do like put kale in your food, man. Blend it in, put it in. Kale is a very high in chlorophyll. It's good for the bloods, you know. Yeah.
Bring Proverbs 27 and 27.
This is Proverbs chapter 27, verse 27.
That out.
And thou shalt have goats, milk enough for thy food,
Right.
for the food of thy household, and for the maintenance for thy maidens.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to touch on as well, the milk aspect. Brothers, we can't, brothers and sisters can't be drinking cow's milk.
Cow milk.
That's the foul.
Yeah, I'm trying to get I think my daughter don't, my little boy, trying to get him to stay off that now. You got coconut milk, you got soya milk, you got almond milk.
And first, yeah,
you
soy
got
milk.
all of these milk. Try it, man. And your body will get used to it after a while anyway.
Because
You know?
a lot of our people are lactose intolerant.
Right.
We don't align with dairy. Right? That works for Eastwood. That don't, that don't
We
work
don't,
for
yeah,
us.
I heard that.
Oh, yeah,
I heard it's not good for us. Yeah.
It's not good. Because the dairy, that's supposed to that's only conducive for baby cows.
Right. Baby cow, yeah.
Our children are supposed to be
Sucking on the teeth. They don't even want to give it titties. Give titties, man. You know what I'm saying? A boy loves his titties. That's why when you grow up, what's the first thing you look at when they wake up? You look at it and say, "Joy, when I catch that." Because we love sucking on it. So leave for Eve. Give those big breasts to the boy and let it suck life out of him.
That's it.
Stop playing and giving them these foolishness, this poison that you're giving them.
Right, because all that dairy, that's another big thing that causes cancer as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That dairy is powerful.
That's right.
The cheese, lay off the yogurt, lay off the dairy milk. There's almond milk, as the scripture says. There's goat milk. There's coconut milk. These milks are conducive for our system, not dairy.
Goat milk.
Coconut milk, and almond milk.
Almond milk.
These are the milks because even soy milk,
It's not
that
good.
a lot of estrogen.
Yeah, apparently it's not good for
There's a lot of estrogen, so it's gonna compromise the testosterone levels.
good for man still.
Yeah, so yeah, man, brothers and sisters need to lay off that dairy as well. Because even when I used to eat dairy myself, I always used to get belly aches. I used to be in the toilet. You get what I mean?
That's right.
Be in that toilet, man.
You know what I mean?
Deuteronomy 34, verse 7. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes was not dim, nor his natural force abated.
So Moses was 120 years old, and his natural force was not abated. He still
Read
had
that again, read that
still had
again.
that bad
And Moses was
No, just quote the scripture and read it.
Deuteronomy 34 and 7. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes was not dim, and his natural force abided.
See that?
So his
So
natural.
he was strong, man.
He was 120
He
years
lived
old.
on you right.
He was still ready to go.
So and he died, right? So in that movie,
Ten Commandments.
No, there's a movie called Green Pasture. They made a mistake because when he was about to die, they made him look like he was tired.
Yeah,
And then he sat down. Yeah. See, that's why it's important to read the words.
Yeah, read the word.
Right,
Speak
right.
the truth.
Right, so yeah, Moses, imagine being 120 years old and you still have your
You're ready to
vitality,
go, man.
You're still ready to go.
Man is in his 40, but like, it's getting hard,
Right.
mate.
Like,
It's
bro,
not like before, you know?
So we got to strive to be on that level. Obviously, we're not going to be on that level because this is a different time period. The food's not the same, right? But we need to strive to be, even at 80 years old, still have a certain level of youthful exuberance about
A
ourselves.
lot of exercising.
Right.
You
Can't
know?
be all out there walking sticks
We got people
this.
like that, like,
You get what I mean?
man. Bro,
At the
at
age
some
of
point I
50
had
years
so
old.
many back pains, like it wasn't, lower back pain I had it so much, it was like, it wasn't even pleasant anymore, man. I had to rectify that, you know? But the diet changed a lot of things. Diet is very, very important. So us in this truth, we have to abide by that. Like we have to be, and we have to get ready for the war that's coming. You gotta be fit, man. How people were fit back in time.
It's very. That's what I was trying to explain. You know, back in the old days, people were actually very fit. Some people even live up to 150. You know, not necessarily. But now that's not even the case
Yeah,
anymore.
Job lived until he was 140 years old.
Yeah. That's the point I'm trying to make. See,
You know what I mean?
it's like
he lived to see his third and fourth generation.
there we go. You know, that's how strong they were. But now it's like the mentality, based on what we eat, you know, our lifestyle has actually dropped, and then you get the media telling you nonsense like, oh yeah, you know, you're gonna live up to this much, you're gonna live up to that much, and then there's also what, life expectancy. Like that's all BS, man. You know, that's what the system tells you. You know, that's not what God tells you.
Right, because they make us believe that being at the age of 65 is that's not
Exactly,
that's not
man.
old.
That's
Exactly.
young, man.
That's still young. You should still be hitting the gym at 65 years old.
Exactly.
Honestly, I'm not even
Fuck,
joking.
fuck.
What I've done on the old days.
Literally. This is Ecclesiasticus 37 and 29. Be not unsatiable in any dainty thing. So unsatiable means greedy. Nor too greedy upon meats.
Now read that one slowly because brother have to get to the grip with that, man. Like I say, war is coming. You gotta be fit. You gotta get fit.
That's why
No
I go to
more
gyms.
excuse. You know, sometimes when you got option, you can do. We don't have option. We have to get fit as men of the Lord because they're coming for us, man.
Jacob's
When they
trouble.
put you somewhere, you gotta be able to be flexible to stay. Man, can you stay like that? If Esau put you in a van where there's no space and you block like that, knowing that after that you gotta be fit to the point that when they release you, you're still fine. But if you don't exercise, you don't do a lot of stretching, you're gonna feel pain after, and you're gonna be working like that. Think about all scenarios.
The worst that can happen, isn't it?
You gotta be able to breathe better.
Exactly.
In a situation where they'll put you somewhere where below you can't breathe. You gotta be able to be fit to be able to sustain, you know, to withstand whatever that's coming, man.
That's right.
You know, so it's very, and we have to pray, and also the famine that's coming, you won't have the food that we're able to. So if you get yourself strong now, you'll be able to withstand the, you know, whatever comes in it.
Sometimes it makes you wonder, yeah, right? If you had an opportunity to go out hiking, you know, and you went to see trees with berries and oranges and fruits, you gotta eat from these, man. Because there'll come a time whereby if we're forced out of the system, which will happen, you know, we're gonna survive out in nature, you know, and that's what eating from the tree, you know, necessarily means. We don't have to eat from the system.
so you
anymore.
got that. So basically, you have to be balanced.
Yeah,
The spiritual side and the physical side is very important.
that's right.
All comes together.
Right.
Exactly.
It's Ecclesiasticus 37 and 29. Be not unsatiable in any dainty thing, nor too greedy upon meats.
Now, actually, read it again.
Ecclesiasticus 37 and 29. Be not unsatiable in any dainty thing, nor too greedy upon meats. For excess of meats bringeth sickness. And
See, excess of meat bringeth sickness, man. Excess of meat bringeth sickness, man. The Bible saying it. Come and eating all the time meat. All you want to eat is meat.
I know an idiot who actually says that a flatmate that I used to live with, he goes by the name Mihai. Apparently, yeah, he'll always go about like eating meats like scorpions and eels, things that are an abomination, you know. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, basically he's not in the right frame of mind. So on and so forth.
Is he a Jake?
Yeah, no, he's not Jake. He's Middle Eastern.
Well, it's heathen, the heathen, isn't it?
No. He's not Middle Eastern. He's Eastern European actually. So yeah. Deuteronomy 8.
So, yeah, reason. Let me finish this one. For excess of meat bringeth sickness, and surfeiting will turn into chola.
That's right.
So surfeiting is, when you go into the definition of surfeiting, it says, cause someone to desire no more of something as a result of having consumed or done in excess, or having too much of something in excess.
That's right.
That's right.
And it says, by a surfeiting have many perished. But he that taketh heed prolongeth his life. So when you're not too greedy upon these meats, prolong your life.
Greed, sloth, gluttony.
Right.
It has repercussions. There are repercussions to these, and it'll come back to bite you in the butt.
Yeah, it catches up to you after. innit?
Exactly.
Right. So, you know, even in regards to eating meat, you need to settle down on the meat. Maybe have it once or twice a week. That's enough.
That's right.
You don't have to have meat every day. Meat isn't conducive for everyday consumption. It takes about 3 days for you to properly digest the meat you eat. Right? So you need to calm down a bit with the meat.
Calm.
Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 8. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended.
Calm.
Touch on it.
Basically, what it's saying is that, the children of Israel were actually weeping, but, sorry, I don't know.
Read it again.
And the children of Israel were wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So
Did you bring that precept or you doing?
no,
That's
that's my precept.
Maybe it's not a.
What I didn't do is I didn't realize.
That's fine. Don't worry. That's right. It's training days for you.
Yeah.
But if you're not sure of a precept, just read it. Yeah, Malak.
This is Ecclesiasticus 21:20. Sound sleep coming from moderate eating.
Right. Sound sleep coming from moderate sleep. Moderate what?
Moderate eating.
Moderate eating, man. So when you have a little bowl, like let's say, evening you have like a little salad. Like French people, they love the salad.
Yeah, they do.
You got that salad, like onion.
Salad.
Yeah, salad. That salad. So we had last time, innit? That salad with tomato. I would put onion, but I didn't put onion. I do put onion on mine. Onion, cucumber. You got that, and then you do like, maybe.
You got salad to go with it.
No, I used to like chicken or whatever. But if you can, get some eggs.
Yeah,
Actually, we do that with eggs, boiled eggs. And you do that little vinaigrette. Like you take like the vinegar with olive oil, and then you whip it until it becomes thick, and you put it on it like that. Man, that thing nice, man. That thing nice. You did good. You can eat it. Since it's herb, it's alright. You can eat as much. You're full. You're good for the night.
Hell of a lot of nutrients.
Hell of a lot of nutrients.
Vitamins,
Vitamin, all of it.
Right, especially at night, we shouldn't be eating things that are too heavy. Right? There should be a specific time period where eating meat is a cut-off point. So, like for example, brothers and sisters go to bed at maybe 11, 12 o'clock. Don't be eating meat at 9 o'clock. The cut-off point should be at least 6 o'clock in the evening. Right? That's what the scriptures are saying. It says, sound sleep coming from moderate eating. He rises early and his wits are with him. So when you're eating moderately and you're eating a balanced diet, you wake up and you feel that energy, you feel that vitality. You're not waking up and you're feeling sluggish and you're waking up and you want to go back to sleep. If you're waking up and you want to go back to sleep after having an 8-hour sleep, something's not right. You get what I mean? Should be when you wake up, your eyes should be fully open, get out of bed straight away and you do what you gotta do. Says, but the pain of watching and chola and pangs of the belly are with an insatiable men. Right? So if you're too greedy, look what the scriptures are saying. You're gonna be feeling pains when you wake up. You're gonna be feeling cramps.
You wake up, you're heavy.
Right.
Because you have all those meat, man. meat.
Right.
I still practically eat meat, but yeah, I'm gonna change.
All that bacteria in your gut. You get what I mean?
That's what black seeds are for. Gets rid of all the cancer.
Right, so yeah, brothers should even be going on, brothers and sisters should be going on detoxes. Well, that's necessary.
That's right.
That's necessary, man. That's imperative.
That's right.
Because our body's housed in the Holy Spirit.
Right. Treat it right, man. You have to treat it right.
Right.
Treat it right.
Because even these what's that? Yeah, man. What do you call it? Even certain
They like you,
foods.
innit? They like you. Don't worry, in that day you're gonna come. In that day you're gonna come with him, okay? Don't worry. In that day you're gonna clean. Don't worry. Come on, let's pray. Let's go, man.
Because even
He likes you, man.
some of these spirits.
See these Edomite girls, man. They love Jakey. They don't even know what to do with themselves. Man. Look at them. Carry on, man. Carry on.
Because even some of these foods have spirits. Some of these foods have spirits attached to it.
Yeah.
So you're consuming these foods and you're consuming the same spirits that
Right.
attach to these foods.
Right,
That's right.
Right. Because even Esau, the small hats
right. Yeah, them one.
on the
Amalekite.
on the Day of Atonement, they get chickens and they cast their sins upon the chicken like this, and that same
Yeah.
chicken, they sell it in the fucking stores.
And that's why we have to pray when we eat. When we eat our food, we have to pray, man.
It's
Right.
also said in the Bible, yeah, right. Never mingle with the serpent seed. The serpent seed is basically the so-called white woman, you know, or the white man. You know, they've got the serpent seed. You know, our seed is holy. You know, so
Well, see, Bible is about balance, because well, we're gonna leave it like that.
yeah.
All right, carry on.
Yeah, because we're still even told this very day we're eating food sacrificed to idols.
That was right.
But that was going on in ancient Rome. That's what Paul was talking about, eating food sacrificed to idols. They were selling these same meats that they were sacrificing to idols. They were selling in the markets. Doing the same thing
Right.
now. You know what I mean? So it's important. Even prayer. It's imperative to pray over our food every single
Pray,
time.
man.
No matter
So-
what you're eating, it doesn't matter what you're
So this is how you pray in Hebrew. You say Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Barak, Zah, Kazaida, Wa, Ma'akal. If you drink, if you Yayan, Wa, Yayan, Aman. Yeah? Barak, Zah, okay? Kazaida, Wa, Ma'akal. Aman. Oh, Babakusha, Babakusha. Before you pray, you have to do Babakusha, Babakusha. Like, please, 3 times. Or if you can't do it, pray in English, whatever. But we have to sanctify.
I still want to rehearse in Hebrew, so what's recommendable is that since we all have a group chat, you know, what can
Did I
happen?
add you to?
Yeah, you did. You added me into the group chat, so what you can do is that basically you can actually send us a
Okay, I will.
text on how the prayer is actually done in Hebrew.
I will.
So that way it makes more sense.
Right. It doesn't matter what you eat. Pray over it. Even if it's even if it's one nut. Pray over that nut. You get what I mean?
That's right.
Quick prayer, man.
Quick prayer. So yeah, man. I hope our brothers and sisters got something out of this lesson. Man.
Right,
It's important to take care of our health, man.
right.
It's important that our body houses the Holy Spirit. So yeah, when the close up, pray.
Your praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Waha, Rakha, Kodesh. Go on, Yeshua. Death to Babylon. Shalom.
That's right.